Lower House passes data protection bill. Details to this story and more in a national report.
Grenada's premier junior track and field event is here again with a bang. The Republic Bank Intercall Schools Championship is back at the Carriacou James Athletic Stadium. You cannot miss the intense rivalry amongst all secondary schools, athletes on the track and in the field. You will not forgive yourself if you miss this. The Republic Bank 2023 Intercall. Day 1, 2, and 3, the 55th Intercall Championship takes place on March 28th, 29th, and 30th, with each day starting at 9 a.m. and ending at 6. Be there to experience the special attractions and surprises. Main Pavilion, Day 1, $15, Day 2, $20, Day 3, $30. Season tickets, $60. Secondary stands, Day 1, $10, Day 2, $15, Day 3, $25. Bleachers, Day 1, $5, Day 2, $10, and Day 3, $15. Season tickets, $25. Children under 12, $15 Main Pavilion and $5 Secondary Pavilion. Let us celebrate the return of 3 days of Republic Bank Intercall in all its glory at the 55th Intercall Athletic Meet 2023 at the Carriacou James Athletic Stadium. Bring your school, bring your past student, bring your family to 3 days of competitive track and field. You will not forget this one. Be there.
With the details to the news for Wednesday, March 15th, 2023, I am Chrisanne Mitchell. Government has resumed the process of enacting another piece of legislation related to electronic matters under the OECS Electronic Governments for Regional Integration project. Members of the lower house on Tuesday debated and passed with amendments the Data Protection Bill, which forms part of a suite of bills under the OECS project. In 2013, under the previous administration, Parliament enacted 4 bits of legislation. However, the Data Protection Bill was deferred. Leader of Government Business, Honorable Philip Telesford, explained that the bill seeks to regulate the processing of personal information in the context of commercial transactions. It will also provide a safeguard by establishing a framework to prevent the misuse and mismanagement of the processing of personal data.
Apart from certain sectoral secrecy obligations, information of a personal nature is only protected as confidential information through contractual obligations or the common law. The key objective, therefore, of this bill is to regulate the processing of personal information in the context of commercial transactions by data users, and to provide a safeguard for the interests of data subjects, meaning individuals, by establishing a framework that will prevent the misuse and mismanagement of possession of personal data, of personal data.
Prime Minister Honorable Deacon Mitchell and members of the government side supported the bill by outlining the many benefits that can be derived.
You have multiple duplication in the system. When I came to Parliament and said there were millions and millions of taxes outstanding, the hard-working public servants at IRD are not in a position to say yea or nay because they cannot verify the quality of the data. That is why we need to fix the system, but to fix the system, we need to put the legislation in place. And my friends know that.
It is required. It is going to help bring the question of data protection in line with modern practices. It is going to help to support small individual people who cannot fight corporations to be able to protect their personal data. And Mr. Speaker, it is clearly explained in this bill. It is specific to commercial transactions This is what this bill seeks to protect. It says so.
Antigua and Barbuda has already enacted this data protection bill. And I'm saying that to the extent that the draft model comes from the OECS, I don't think the OECS will prepare any draft bill that will instill fear and take away the rights and put pressure on our population. Certainly not.
Grenada's Attorney General and Minister for Legal Affairs, Labor and Consumer Affairs, Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph, has mandated the Wage Advisory Committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Carolyn Gilchrist to commence a series of consultations with major stakeholders with a view to revising Grenada's minimum wage as well as broaden the scope of the minimum wage order. The Wage Advisory Committee was reconstituted on September 1st, 2022 for a period of 3 years and was set up to address the minimum wage in Grenada, which was not reviewed over the past 11 years. The review of the minimum wage is one of the government's priorities and is aligned with the National Sustainable Development Goal 2, vibrant, dynamic, competitive economy with supporting climate and disaster-resilient infrastructure, and Sustainable Development Goals 1, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 10. The committee is excited to begin these consultations and will commence discussions on Wednesday, March 15th, 2023, with key members from the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the Grenada Employers Confederation. The committee will be holding further one-on-one consultations with other stakeholders in addition to town hall meetings in various communities and urges all interested parties to take advantage of the opportunities for input and feedback as we work together in ensuring the implementation of a sustainable minimum wage policy for the workers of Grenada. This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
Have you noticed an increase or decrease in your electricity bill? You know that changes in the fuel and non-fuel rates affect your bill. You should also be aware that changes in household activities affect your bill. Ask yourself these questions. Have the rates changed? Have there been more people at your home? Have your children been on holiday? Have you used your fan or air conditioning unit more often to beat the heat? Are any of your electrical appliances or equipment faulty? Have you added any new appliances such as transformers, water heaters, or pumps? Make it a habit to understand any changes on your electricity bill. For more factors that affect your bill, visit www.grenlec.com. Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Welcome back. The Royal Grenada Police Force is assuring the public of a strong police presence at the 2023 Republic Bank-sponsored Intercall Games from March 28th to 30th. Inspector Jude Francis, who was a guest on the program Informed Discussion, said the main focus of the RGPF will be to secure the nation's children and patrons who attend the games. Inspector Francis says from the time one enters the Kirani James Athletic Stadium compound, there will be a high visibility of organized law enforcement officers.
All of the stands, talking about the main stand, the secondary stand, and the bleachers, will have police officers posted at strategic location at the stands and the bleachers itself. The main focus here is to ensure that if by chance something happens whereby it infringes security, that we are there and we could act promptly. But that cannot be done on our own. It is a school event, and it's just a matter of from the school into one arena itself. Teachers have the part to play. So we expect, just like how the police will be interacting in the stands with the students, we expect that the teachers will also be doing that. When the police involved, it should basically be a last resort. But our presence at the venue, that should send a message that we are here to police the event, and we'll do anything what it takes to ensure that the event is safe.
The flow of traffic in the vicinity of the National Stadium will be obstructed, but to ensure a smooth flow as possible, no entry signs will be erected in designated areas.
Our intent is to, immediately after the game, we want to give ourselves a window between an hour, 2 hours, to get all the students and the patrons out of St. George's. This is not a time whereby students should be choosing buses. We intend this, the activity finish, the sports finish, you get on a bus and you're out. Now, one of the scary things for us at that moment is in terms of the buses and the bus owners see that opportunity to make a little extra cash. And what you will find happening, we will have the issue of speeding. Now, if we have that issue of speeding, look at it on different fronts. If it's in an accident, law enforcement have to be called in. So all the speed you are speeding to get to a location and then come back to make an extra buck, you may have to spend a whole hour on the side. Put it a scenario again, whereby you met in an accident, someone died. You have to ask yourself the question, did it worth it? Somebody losing their life. So these are some of the things that we are focusing on.
Inspector Francis says vending will be conducted in an organized manner and vendors are expected to adhere to the rules.
This activity intercall, all vending is done on the inside of the stadium. Okay. I think the organizers put that in place. Also, there is persons who may come into St. George's event. I should put it that way. There is no vending on the stadium compound. All vending is authorized vending, authorized by the organizers of the event. Okay. Right. Now, outside of the venue, if we are coming from the Lacroix roundabout, right, keep left. That area in front of the stadium, there is if you're going to the west and the left-hand side,
where they have the chickens.
Right. This area is designated the only area designated as a vending area on that day.
And finally in the news, President of the Principals Association, Dominic Jeremiah, says the return of intercall over 3 days is to allow for the inclusion of new events and to give athletes enough recovery time to perform at their best in the various events. 2023, he says, will not only see the inclusion of 2 new events, but a new school as well, the Gateway Secondary School. Mr. Jeremiah was a guest on GIS Informed Discussions program.
We are introducing, and I emphasize the word introducing, 2 new events. The heptathlon and octathlon. Okay. One for girls, one for boys. I think the oct is for the boys and the hep is for the girls. Now, these are events that are combined events, and so they will be engaged in different disciplines. 3 days, yeah. Exactly.
A new aspect of the games is the introduction of a pay-per-view that will be facilitated through a service provider who has rights to the games.
Persons within the state of Grenada will not have to use pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is for those brothers and sisters who live in the diaspora. Okay. So that is where the pay-per-view will become effective. So as far as I know, pay-per-view is not for locals. Pay-per-view is for those persons who live outside of the state of Grenada. Okay. So
the intercall will be carried on channels then?
The intercall is going to be done through a central broadcast, and from the central broadcast, television stations and other entities can get a feed to the television stations.
Games Director John L. Mitchell says patrons can expect 3 packed days of keenly contested events.
The schedule is set up in such a way that on each day of the competition, there are finals. And I want to put this in context. Intercall is not a third day event. It's not a third day event. So on day 1 we have 400-meter finals. Day 2, 200-meter finals.
In all categories.
All categories. Day 3, 100-meter finals. And the relays.
That story ends the broadcast for today, March 15th, 2023. On behalf of the entire news and production team here at the Government Information Service, I am Christian Mitchell saying thank you for joining us.